press conference, and of course to salute my fellow citizens and residents. I am of course very pleased to update our citizens and residents on some important matters of state. These press conferences play an important role in our democracy, and they are an opportunity for your government to take you into its confidence and provide you with accurate and factual information on the issues that matter to you. Even as my government continues to keep people safe and secure, we are very mindful to delicately balance the tension between lives and livelihoods as a consequence of the dangerous COVID-19 pandemic. COVID-19, and more particularly its management, consequences, and recovery from its debilitating tentacles are foremost on the minds of everyone in every corner of the globe. To date, 1.93 billion vaccine doses have been administered worldwide. At a glance, this appears to be significant progress being made in the fight against the deadly virus, as the vaccine has proven to be the best defense against this formidable enemy, COVID-19. On closer examination, we see that there remains a great inequity in vaccine distribution globally, as some countries are yet to administer a single dose. 85% of all doses administered globally have been to persons from high and upper middle income countries. Doses administered in low income countries have been less than 1%. Despite the global shortage of vaccines, my government has been able to secure more than 40,000 doses in the first instance to protect the people of this, my beloved federation. Our vaccine rollout started on or about February 22nd, 2021, and during the last 3 months, we have seen great and commendable success. As at Wednesday, June 3rd, 28,556 doses have been administered in our federation. 62.5% of adults over the age of 18 have received at least one shot of the AstraZeneca vaccine. In addition, 24%, or 7,920 adults, are now fully vaccinated, having received their 2 doses. With the vaccine providing significant protection against COVID-19 and significant risk reduction from severe disease, hospitalization, and deaths, we are well positioned in this leg of the fight against the pandemic. Across the globe, every single country went into community spread with mounting COVID-19 cases and deaths. Our health professionals repeatedly warned that despite our best efforts, it was only a matter of time before the virus got into our communities, and we needed to prepare individually and collectively for this eventuality. Here in the Federation, we were prepared for the inevitable, which was community spread. It is your responsibility to use the non-pharmaceutical measures such as social distancing, hand sanitizing, and wearing a mask to protect yourself and others. Your government procured vaccines to protect you and those who are unable to protect themselves. It is the best defense we have in our arsenal in the ongoing war against COVID-19. I am happy so many of our citizens and residents have heeded the call and came out in their numbers to be vaccinated. Kitishans and Nivishans continue to exercise good judgment in protecting themselves, their loved ones, and their communities. So far, more than 62% of the nation's adults sent a strong message that they listened to the facts, they believed in the science, and they went forward to be vaccinated. They understood that in a pandemic, time wasted could result in lives lost. In addition to the fight against the novel coronavirus, we have been fighting another pandemic, best described as the pandemic of misinformation. False information, willfully and maliciously peddled by some locally and abroad to retard the progress we have made for their own personal agenda and selfish short-term political gains, must of course be condemned. I am happy that so far, more than 62% of the adult population simply said no to the misinformation and propaganda. They did the altruistic act of getting vaccinated, not just to protect themselves, but to protect all of us. We will continue to educate and vaccinate our people, as this is the best defense against the deadly coronavirus. Our public education and COVID-19 has been the most elaborate and convenient, engaging persons in their communities, at churches, at their workplaces, by regular briefings and through hotlines. We have adopted an all-of-society approach, and everyone's constructive effort is always, I repeat, always welcomed. The task force has engaged every interested entity, including sport associations, hoteliers, political parties, among others. Ours is a life-first strategy. We have seen that millions around the world have lost their lives to this virus. Indeed, the latest count, over 3 million persons have lost their lives. Over 500,000 have died from COVID in the greatest and most powerful country in modern times, the United States of America. I want to thank the Almighty God that not a single life has been lost to COVID-19 thus far in this, our blessed federation. To God we must all give thanks and praise. We believe that life is precious, and we will do all within our power to protect every life. We encourage you to continue to go forward in your numbers to be vaccinated at the 17 health centers across St. Kitts and Nevis. These are open from 8 a.m. until 6 p.m., and you will be welcomed there. We currently have one of the highest vaccination rates globally, and this is a great achievement of which we should all be proud. My government will continue in its quest to secure more vaccines so that we can reach the goal of herd immunity in the not-too-distant future, thus restoring normalcy to our beautiful federation. Indeed, as we speak, our Minister of Health is engaged in regional meeting in which the matter of vaccines availability becomes a critical matter for the discussion. When the history of this pandemic is written, there are some names, some well-known and some not so well-known and some unknown, that will be forever etched for their yeoman service in this fight against COVID-19. I want at this juncture to thank all involved in this fight, as everyone's contribution is significant. Those in the leadership of the COVID-19 Task Force, the Health Emergency Operating Committee, frontline healthcare workers, especially our community nurses, frontline workers along the corridor of containment, including those in law enforcement, such as our police, immigration, customs, transportation, and workers in the hospitality and tourism industry. I say thank you very much for your contribution. Thanks also to those in the media, helping to educate and inform the public. Most importantly, you, the general public, for your adherence to the prescription of non-pharmaceutical measures, and who are now stepping forward yourselves to be vaccinated. I say thank you to you too. I want to turn now to the matter of our economic recovery and, of course, issues of interest to the wider society. My government has successfully opened up all major sectors of the economy. I will now examine the situation of our main economic drivers in brief. Turning to the manufacturing sector, most of the workers in our manufacturing plants have returned to their jobs. A recent review of employment data reveals that over 1,166 persons are back to work in the manufacturing industry. The main export manufacturing entities are all operating at different levels of capacity, of course. At Jaro, 230 employees are at work. At API Harrisova, 112. At Carry Brewery, 155. Electrofab, 65. Sun Island Close, 70. Cajola Cristada, 168. The Marara Distillers, 7 employees. Caribbean Magnetics, 20. Brush Limited, 35 employees, to name a few of the entities. Our manufacturing and export enclave is critically important. To date, we remain the single largest exporter of merchandise to the USA among all member states of the OECS, including Barbados. This is significant, and we want to maintain that export potential of our manufacturing sector. Beyond employment, the manufacturing sector has been contributing to foreign exchange with exports for the period January to April 2021, totaling just over $33 million, compared to $27.9 million for the comparative period of 2020. This represents an increase of 18%. This, of course, is good news. I turn to the fisheries and agriculture sector. Indeed, in the broader classification of agriculture by the Food and Agriculture Organization, fisheries is subsumed under agriculture, and agriculture generally then must be construed to embody crops, livestock, fisheries, and forestry. Overall, fish landings over the period January to April 2021 totaled 275,000 pounds, with a value of just over $3 million. This represents an 87% increase from the prior year, 2020, when fish landings were just under 150,000 pounds for those 4 months of the year, and with a value of $1.2 million. For this year then, for the first 4 months, we are recording a near threefold increase in the dollar value of fish landed here. I want to commend the Ministry of Agriculture and our Director of Marine Resources, who is here with us today. Year on year, January to April, the comparative period, 2020 versus 2021, reef and demersal fishery increased by 97%. Coastal pelagic fishery increased by 70%. Ocean pelagic fishery decreased by 7%. Conch fishery increased by 26%. And the most significant was lobster production, which increased by 334% over the same period, January to April. The number of registered fishers stood at an all-time high at 1,277 at the end of April 2021. I want to repeat that in this our small federation, we have 1,277 registered fishers. The statistic at the end of April 2021 represented an addition of 102 registered fishers over the total at the same period end, April 2020. These, in my view, are positive signs of a fisheries sector on the rise, aided by my government stimulus packages, which have assisted fishers with fishing gears, including fish spot wires, fishing aggregate devices, and many other supports. During the period under review, overall, our livestock production increased by approximately 66% in 2021 when compared to the comparative period of 2020. The combined value of livestock commodities increased from just under $500,000 in 2020 to $760,322 in 2021. Again, we are looking at the first quarter in the context of livestock output. The increase was attributed to the provision of resources made available through the COVID-19 stimulus package for the agricultural sector, and we have extended that stimulus by $5 million for the budget year 2021. During the period under review, overall crop production fell by about 10%. Despite this decline, significant gains were realized in cabbage, cantaloupe, onion, sweet potato, tomato, watermelon, and yam production. Cucumber production remains steady. I want to remind all of us to continue, or to start if we haven't yet been doing so, to support our farmers and fishers by buying local produce. At the same time, I want to remind our farmers and fishers to do the best they can on prices and quality. It's always a good strategy at times to reduce the price and make your customers happier. Long live our farmers and fishers. Turning briefly to the tourism sector, the cruise tourism will get started shortly, and we expect a much better summer season for cruise than last year. Indeed, last year we had the total lockdown during the summer period, and so cruise tourism literally disappeared. For this year, we have several visits on record, which are expected to begin shortly. In terms of education tourism, this is still strong, with over 1,000 students already repatriated to St. Kitts and Nevis to pursue their studies. This, of course, means more income for landlords, for operators of buses, for restaurateurs, and all the variety of businesses which these students and their professors would patronize. Movie making will be consolidated in St. Kitts and Nevis, and interestingly, we have been able to host one principally at the Park Hyatt facility below deck, and the anticipation is that 6 will be produced by MSR Productions. When we asked Philip why he had chosen St. Kitts and Nevis as the top place to begin the filming of his movies, he said he was pointed to Barbados, and indeed he was in Barbados when he finalized his decision. He had been pointed to the Dominican Republic, which has an excellent record in film production, and he had been pointed elsewhere. What was the deciding factor, he said to us, was our success in the management of COVID-19. COVID-19, in the end, gave us many challenges and difficulties, but it has provided us now with an opportunity to build out a movie-making industry. So this is one of the upside, if there is any, that we could point to coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic. Several hotels are on track to open in the latter quarter of 2021. Of course, that will bring some permanent jobs to those who have an interest in working in that industry. Turning to the construction sector, which is one of the most significant contributors to our economic growth, we are encouraged by the increasing confidence of our private sector in the economy. We are well aware that TDC's Joa's housing project is moving apace. The luxury villa project at the Royal St. Kitts Hotel is progressing well, and ground has been broken on the start of Plaza 2 at the Royal St. Kitts Hotel in Frigate Bay. The St. Kitts Cooperative Credit Union is soon to start a housing project at Douglas Estate. In fact, it was expected to have been launched, I think, earlier this week or last week, but an account of the resurgence of the COVID-19, the principals determined that they will postpone the groundbreaking event. The project, of course, like all projects, will receive my government's full support. Our cabinet on Monday considered an exciting support development project for Eastern Port Sante involving inter alia, a car park development, marina, and hotels. There is still much more to be done on this project before it becomes ready for formal action by Cabinet, but the concept is a good and interesting one. It shows the continuing attractiveness of St. Kitts and Nevis to investors. Indeed, these private sector projects will be complemented by our public sector capital projects. I have some more good news to share. Wellington Road's apartments are now set for allocation in the not-too-distant future. 24 apartments have been built with the strong support of PDV St. Kitts Nevis Limited, which provided grant and loan financing. In a similar vein, we anticipate that the Petrocasas housing project in Mansion, which is also being constructed by grant funding, would be ready for allocation in the not-too-distant future. I want to turn to some labor issues, and for the record to reiterate that the Team Unity government has been a model employer. I am pleased to report that despite the financial and economic challenges resulting from the COVID-19 pandemic, the government of St. Kitts and Nevis has been able to fulfill its payroll obligations to all of its employees, including both monthly and weekly paid, and to all pensioners. Indeed, this government has not laid off a single employee on account of COVID-19. My government's payroll supports some 3,908 monthly paid employees, 1,124 government auxiliary employees, 1,346 pensioners, over 6,400 persons directly depend on their government paycheck month after month. To this burden, we must add, while the total payroll disbursement by the government and St. Kitts and Nevis from January to May, covering these three categories, monthly paid employees, government auxiliary employees, and pensioners, is a whopping $115,399 and $399,183.25. I'm not too sure why the Accountant General gave me with that precision. So to make it more simple, the total payroll from January to May 2021 is $115.4 million. You add to that the STEP programs, which employs around 3,000 persons, and the bill for the year so far is another $21 million. And all this is taking place in the context of a significant decline in the inflows from taxes as a result of, for example, our stimulus package, where we waive certain taxes, where we reduce some by as much as 50% in the case of unincorporated business tax, we reduce corporation tax by some 28% or thereabout. In the context of those reduction in taxes, the government continues to carry on its payroll close to 10,000 persons in St. Kitts and Nevis. And for over 12 months, not one day did we miss paying them. This is our story of prudent fiscal management from 2015 to the present. Prudent fiscal management. Across the globe, COVID-19 accounted for the equivalent of 255 million job losses. Thankfully, in St. Kitts and Nevis, our citizens and residents displaced by COVID-19 have access to a range of some 20 social safety net supports, including food vouchers, school meal programs, poverty alleviation program, support services for foster children, medical assistance program, distinct and a part of the compulsory free access to health care at all of our community centers for young people and for the elderly, including access to dental services free of cost in St. Christopher and Nevis. Assistance with school uniforms, books and examination fees paid for by this government, even in the context of a most dangerous pandemic that has turned even the most powerful country upside down. For 2021, we have budgeted about $35 million for the social safety net relief and public assistance. Most popular being, of course, the Poverty Alleviation Program, which we introduced in 2018 to provide income support to those households which were in dire need. For the year so far, January to May, the popular PAP program, as it's called, has paid out $13.4 million. And since the program started in December of 2018 up to May 31st, 2021, the total amount processed by the Accountant General is $70.3 million. No other government before us has been as generous in its support to the working poor and as astute in its fiscal management. To date, 2,892 severance claims have been received by the Federal Labor Department on behalf of employees both on the island of Nevis and on the island of St. Kitts. To date, the total number of severance claims processed is 2,107, of which 2,042 have already been paid as at the 31st May, according to reports I have from our Labour Commissioner. And she advised that 65 are pending. The total amount paid out for severance payments by the federal government is a whopping $33.4 million as at May 31st, 2021. $22 million has been paid out from the federal purse to employees who work at entities in St. Kitts, and $11 million had been paid out to employees who worked at entities on the island of Nevis. Had it not been for the competent fiscal management of our public finances, we would never have been able to disburse $33.4 million at a time when the government's revenues have been significantly reduced as a consequence of the pandemic. I must commend the Labour Department for its work so far. Never before have so many claims been processed by the department. I thank the severed employees for their patience. For many of them, they have displayed Job's patience. The good news is that the majority of them have now had their claims processed and paid. There is light at the end of the tunnel, with only about 59 claims submitted in 2020, which are yet to be finalized for a number of reasons, including lack of information, including the fact that some of the employers are disputing the conditions of work, etc., and all these matters have to be finalized. The Labour Commissioner has assured me that her staff is working very hard to complete all outstanding matters. In closing, just a reminder that the Unity Government will celebrate its anniversary by joining the congregation at the Wesley Methodist Church on Seaton Street, Barstair, for service this Sunday, 6 June, at 9 a.m. It was about 1 year ago when the people of St. Kitts and Nevis restored their faith in the Team Unity administration and the significant accomplishments that had occurred under our watch for the last 5 years. We give God thanks for the opportunity to serve our people. And we will worship with those at the Wesley Methodist Church this Sunday at 9 a.m. There was a prior announcement which indicated that we would have worship in the Green Tree area at Pastor Hensville Church for reasons associated with the management of COVID-19. We have changed location to another church with a larger space. So, do not go to the Faith Tabernacle Church this Sunday. In fact, the church is closed. We will go to Wesley Methodist, 9 a.m. Finally, the Centenarians' Day was recently being celebrated worldwide, and I want to extend Cabinet's best wishes for the continuing well-being of all our centenarians in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. I will now pause to take any questions from the media.